London calling to the faraway towns. Now war is declared and battle come down. London calling to the underworld. Come out of the cupboard, you boys and girls. London calling. Now don't look to us. Phony Beatlemania has bitten the dust. London calling. See, we ain't got no swing except for the ring of that truncheon thing. The ice age is coming, the sun's zooming in. Meltdown expected, the wheat is grown thin. Engines stop running, but I have no fear, 'cause London is drowning and I live by the river. What's up, everybody? How you doing tonight? You motherless goat fuckers. My name is JT. This is the welcome to the House of Auger show. I'm going to be your host, the man of the house, JT Auger, and with me tonight are my co-hosts, Adam, Joel, Nicole, Sativa, and I don't know if Mac is with us. Is Mac with us tonight?
I don't think so.
So it's just us? Am I missing any of my co-hosts?
No.
That would be it.
Okay. Co-hosts, say hello.
Hello. Everyone.
Hey, guys.
Tonight we have a very special guest, a good friend of mine, and somebody who's, I don't know, I heard he draws or paints or something like that. That's the story on the streets. Our very own Paul McGowan. Paul, you with us?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm here.
All right.
I'm everywhere.
I know you are. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Now, before we get started, I'm going to give a few disclaimers. As you might have guessed already, this is not a family-friendly show. There's going to be all kinds of jokes and cursing and subject matter of an adult nature. So if you're too young to be listening in, don't tell your parents. Normally, I do a week in review. Well, that's what that was the plan, at least, with the new structure. But tonight is such a special night. And Paul, I know that he and I are going to talk away. We're going to need the whole time. We're going to need every minute of it. So I'm just going to get right into things. Paul, the first thing I want to talk about with you, which is kind of a current events topic, this whole thing with the Pope and the Catholic Church.
Fucking.
I mean, does everybody, in case everybody doesn't already know, the Catholic Church has been exposed yet again in regards to cover-ups. The current Pope involved. I guess there was an Archbishop by the name of Regano, I might have that name wrong, who came out. He's like 77 years old. He's about ready to die. I guess he wanted to clear his conscience. So he wrote this letter and kind of sent it out into the into the world. And basically he outed a bunch of people, including the Pope, in regards to covering up a lot of this child molestation and stuff like that. And I guess there was the person who he said helped cover that stuff up, who told him some of it, came out and put his name on it too and said, yeah, no, I confirm this. This is all true. So that's the big thing. What's that?
Disappearing, Josh. But I've got the gist, man.
Yeah. What do you think about all this, man?
It's just getting ridiculous. The whole concept of it. But didn't he come out with some, I think Dominic told me earlier on today that he come out with some statement recently that if you've got any kids and you're worried about their sexuality, take them to a psychiatrist. So this man's meant to be modernising the Catholic Church. He just seems to be really incapable of doing it on every level, morally and actually taking responsibility, anything, you know?
Yeah, I heard that there was a statement. See, what really tripped me out was when they went to him. I don't know if this is a new statement that he made or if it's the same statement, but I'd heard that they went to him for a statement. And you would think if this was a lie, if this was some elaborate bullshit, story that this archbishop and this other guy had concocted, and somebody came to you, right? Like, you're the Pope, and these people are lying about you, and it's this huge complex bullshit story, and somebody says, hey, what do you have to say about that? And you have a microphone and an audience in front of you. Wouldn't you take that moment to go, fuck this guy and fuck what he's saying? It's all lies. Don't believe a fucking word of what he says. This is bullshit. I'm not gonna stand for this. He didn't do that. He goes, I don't know what to tell you.
the reason why he doesn't do that is because it's the fucking truth. And
exactly.
If he can't be lying, and for him to do that, for the Pope to be caught actually lying, it would just be too much, So for their embarrassment, so they'll just avoid the actual directness of the question and just pad it around it. So, he hasn't lied, he hasn't told the truth, he hasn't done anything, just like a politician does, really. But
I was just going to say the same thing.
This whole thing with this Catholic Church is, It's endless. It's endless, and it seems to be all across religions, everywhere.
There's definitely problems with multiple. With the bigger religions. Here's the thing: is that it makes it very difficult, in my opinion, for any Christians to judge, say, for example, Islam or any of the stuff that Islam's doing. You can't sit there and go, oh, you guys are awful. You marry your cousins and your fucking kids. Well, so are you. You guys are too.
But, I'm quite happy to call them all out because they're all a bunch of cunts for what they're doing.
Yeah,
I'm not part of that, so I'm happy to call them all out. This is what you do get is if you post anything about pedos in the Catholic Church, basically. Everyone will go along with it. Everyone knows and accepts it. But if you post anything about pedos in Islam, my God, everyone justifies it, going, but it exists in the Catholic Church, white people do it, and all these ridiculous things. Well, we all know that. Everyone knows that. But there's some problems they just won't let you talk about. It's like this big taboo. And I'm sorry, but it's not a taboo. And in no language should it be a taboo, or racism, or Islamophobia, some wholly made up fucking bullshit fucking scenario. It's just rubbish. And to even suggest that people can't talk about these things openly is just ludicrous. It's absolutely, how can you ever solve any problem by not talking about it? And that's what
exactly
the whole word Islamophobia is all about. It just makes it worse for decent Muslims to actually exist and function, because they want to talk about it as well. Because if we talk about anything in a Christian, a Catholic church, and it's like, we're well, fuck them, castrate them, fucking whatever.
Exactly.
But
Christopher Hitchens.
Yeah, Christopher Hitchens is hilarious.
Oh, he is hilarious, but it's sad that he's gone. But he had something to say about Islamophobia. He's got a quote. I can't remember it verbatim right now, but essentially he said, like, Islamophobia is a made up word, made up by idiots to fool, that's right, to fool the rest of us into believing that it's real or whatever. I'm totally screwing it up, but.
I tell you now, like when Tony Blair started encroaching on freedom of speech and bringing in these laws of hate speech and that in 1990, I think it was 1992 or something like that. That whole thing was he knew exactly what he was doing and what was going to happen. And he knew that there was going to be lots of problems taking in Muslims from totally uncivilized parts of that culture, and
you're talking about 1992,
and you'd import them here, and he knew it was going to cause problems with the British public. And I was watching an interview the other day. I think it was Lord Green, I think his name is. I'm not quite sure, but he used to be the ex-British ambassador to Syria, and he does this immigrant watch and calculation thing, and to work out how many people came in that we know of and how big their population has grown since they've been here. And we've got a massive problem with homelessness here, which we're constantly being told that it hasn't got anything to do with migration. But everyone knows square peg round hole. If you've got X amount of homes and X amount of people, and you bring in more people, it's going to push people out the fucking windows and the doors of the other homes and make them homeless. It's just it's a basic mathematical equation. You know, it can't be argued.
There's only so much room.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. So, and it works out as it's actually with our population, white population, I think West Indian populations are pretty stable. You know, they're not going up and down, which is what you sort of want, you know. But they're 82% of the expansion of the UK is Islamic.
Yeah, that's terrifying. That's got to be terrifying.
We've got like 60 million people. In the last few years, we've taken 6 million. Here, 6 million. You know, and I never heard that figure before. I'd heard a lot lower figure, and I just think, they tell us like the problem to the NHS, the problems with the infrastructure is not because of these people. Well, fuck it, you've got 6 million extra people coming in. It is, and that's just all a lie. But people already know this type of thing. You know, it's just cheap labour. It's just cheap labour they brought in for corporations. Right. You know, and I tell you what a travesty as a fake socialist was Tony Blair. There's nothing even remotely as a warmonger. And also the other thing that really fucking drives me nuts about this whole situation is when we're at war with these countries, where we're not at war, when we're fucking being horrendous and bombing the shit out of people, and then it's going to cause a refugee crisis. And then on top of that, then you've got Obama and Clinton, that whole fake narrative to get Libya done, which made it 10 times worse. And then all this time this is going on, genuine refugees coming over here. That's fine. I've got no problem with genuine refugees. But then we're taking on migrants from Pakistan with no qualification at all, streaming in at a faster rate than refugees. And I never knew that at all. And what is the point? You know, what is the point? I mean, we live on a little tiny fucking island. The other day, I drove from one side of Britain to the other 4 times in a day. That's how small it is. People don't realize how small it is.
Are you serious? You can drive from one side of Britain to the other?
Man. From my house to London, it's basically from one side of Britain to the other, and I go there back in the morning, there back in the afternoon. It's just ridiculous. It's so small. I don't know how it's small. Well, I mean, I know it's small, but it's tiny, man. And I could move from swimming in an afternoon. It's that small, you know. And and the thing is, how can you take that amount of people, you know, without it causing racial tension? But one thing the left loves,
it's ludicrous to think that, and I don't. That's what I don't understand about these politicians over there in Europe, not just Britain, but the European Union as a whole. Is this idea?
It's all cheap labour because that is the corporate frontier. The EU is a corporate frontier, and everything they tell people about this peace and love fucking operation, everyone in one boat, bullshit. We've got no control over it. They do what they like, and you know, it's just what can you do? You just have to sit and take it. Thank God for Brexit, but somehow they always use this liberal narrative. Where everything's racist and fucking.
Where do you stand on the Brexit issue? Are you pro Brexit or are you?
What do you think? Of course,
I think you're pro Brexit.
Of course, I want democracy in my country, and I want people to be able to vote for what they want and remove governments. How can you remove somebody in the EU, which is that there's not a party; they just control it, and then basically. You know, you
lose all autonomy as a country.
Oh, it's just ridiculous. No other country in the world would allow it, apart from these remoaners. I don't understand what they want. They think like we're totally incapable of doing anything on our own. You know, look at everything Britain's done. I mean, I think we're right. Basically, if you look at the world's most freest trading nations, I think Britain comes as number 8. I think America's like with less regulation, basically, the less regulation, freer the trade, the more capitalist the country is. So Britain's around number 8. America's like 20. So, and all the socialist countries, they're meant to be socialist platforms, none of them is really socialist countries. They've all got a capitalist base. So, if you look at all of them. So, basically, actually, I'll tell you now, I was reading up about this the other day, and I just couldn't believe. Hold on, press the wrong fucking thing. Hold on. So, basically, the freest place to trade, the most capitalist, is Hong Kong, then Singapore, then New Zealand, then Switzerland, then Australia, then Ireland, Estonia, for fuck's sake. Then the UK, number 8, then Canada, United Arab Emirates, Iceland, Denmark, Taiwan, Luxembourg, Sweden, Georgia, Netherlands, United States at 18. So,
what are we talking about?
How easy it is for free trade,
economic freedom.
Free trade, basically the free market. How accessible it is. So they're like all the big socialist countries. They're not really socialist countries. They've got a capitalist foundation,
right?
And they run a bit of socialism on top.
Right. So it's kind of a conglomeration of the two.
It's neoliberalism.
Well, I mean, it's capitalism with a massive welfare state, whereas socialism is government ownership of the means of production. Which is not remotely the same thing. Right.
But
basically, if you're
having a massive welfare state is, in a sense, I mean, that's a socialist.
It's socialist programs. It's not a socialist economy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
But I agree. I'm not a out and out capitalist. As you get older, you start to think about things differently. I love the fact we got the NHS in Britain. I loved it how it was 12 years ago, 15 years ago, when it could cope. It was a lot better, and it's been really had its ass kicked out of it in the last 15 years. Listen, I don't know what they will not give you the reason. I reckon a lot of it's bureaucracy. I don't think it's much funding. It's badly organised, but also as well, there is this extra 6 million people churned in on top. And
that's what.
We lose both of them.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Yeah.
No, I can hear you.
I've got
Paul.
you back now. Yeah, I can't hear Josh.
So that's kind of an interesting question. You said you were in favor of the NHS.
Well, something. I love the NHS because even though I've just had fucking 7 really bad operations on it, I've had my whole life of good operations. And I used to have private healthcare, and private healthcare is really cheap in England. I mean, I had Bupa Gold for years, and it was like £29, and that's like top end healthcare type thing. Because basically they have to be, because we've got an NHS, they've got a price, they've got to compete, haven't they, from free. And listen, the NHS isn't free. We fucking pay loads for it in our taxes, right? So don't let people, people are always going to it's free at point of use. And up until recently, when they're trying to cut back on it, we used to have people come on vacation to this country to have and then fall ill, and people come in and have their babies. It's just ridiculous,
to take advantage of the NHS.
Yeah, my auntie, she married this Iranian guy, and years ago, he had to run away from basically Ayatollah in the 70s because it was a very liberal place, the Middle East back then. There's nothing like it is now. And
the 70s. You look at pictures of Iraq and Afghanistan in the 70s, and you've got women in like knee-high skirts, and their hair is flowing. It might as well be. It might as well be here.
What happened? They had a really tolerant society, really tolerant. So when they tolerated the idea,
you had a religious coup.
Madness, and basically, he just overrun it because they were too tolerant to put their foot down, and that's what happened. So lots of people ran away and fled because they didn't want to wear like a full burqa and all that type of thing. And basically, my auntie, my cousin married this chap He's ever such a nice bloke. It's just I don't know. He's not like the extreme Muslim today. He's just basically a normal guy. Mm-hmm. And I remember when she would go over there and live wherever they were living. I can't remember where they moved to. Whenever she had loads of children. Whenever she'd have a child, she'd fly back over here and have it all the time. And that was just normal. That's what. Well, I suppose if it's there to take advantage of, people are going to do it. It's like. Why pay tens of thousands of pounds when you can get a flight, go on holiday, and have it for free? And that is these point of use healthcare systems. They don't turn anyone down when they come in, but when they give you a bill afterwards, nobody's going to fucking pay it, are they? Send it to my house in so and so. You're going to get it if you can. Fuck you, Right. When we were young, we used to go around. When I was surfing, we'd travel all over Europe surfing, down the south of France. We'd bunk the trains all the time. We'd get caught and give them our name and address. And sometimes somebody would get a ticket or a letter, go through their door back in the UK 6 months later. You wouldn't fucking go and pay a fucking railway fine. I mean, nobody would. I mean, and it's the same with everything,
Yeah, I'm still here.
So ignorant American here. So I didn't know the NHS allowed for private competition. So that's a thing.
Yeah, it's gone.
Oh, so it's like here.
It's like here with the post office.
No, it's not like Obamacare. It's a lot better than that. But the trouble is, they have got massive backlogs of operations. And they just can't seem to clear them out. So they've taken on private clinics, right? So you could opt out. You say you've got to have an operation. You'll get a selection of places to go. And there'll be like 3 private clinics and 2 national health hospitals. So you'll click on that box. But when they're bringing the private option, they have to pay, the government have to pay that surgeon whatever they charge, at whatever rate they've got their agreement with, but you will be seen as a priority, so your waiting list can be ages and ages, and that's where it's going wrong, and it's struggling. And personally, I think it's because it's a mass struggling with it, coping with the weight of immigration,
Yeah. And that was kind of the point that a lot of people have made is when you contrast the immigration to Europe right now with the immigration to the United States over the past few centuries, the people that are coming here, the reasons that they're coming here, for us historically speaking, has been, these people are giving up everything, risking everything in order to make a better life for themselves. Whereas when you're immigrating to a country where you have this huge social safety net, the kinds of people that are going to go there are going to be different on average. That just kind of follows.
Exactly. That is actually, it is a top choice to pick Britain and France, a place like that, because they have this infrastructure that allows people to come in and just set up home. And of course they get priority because they can't not house them. That's part of the deal. Coming in there, they've got a house. They can't just turn up at the airport and go, "Fuck you, you're on your own." They can't even speak the language, and they never do learn the language because they live in monocultures where basically they live exactly like they do as at home in those communities. Very few learn to speak the language. The kids do because obviously they go to school. But out of the old ones, say you come in in your mid-20s, you're not going to be learning English very quick. I mean. Because you live in your own culture, still the same as when you was away. There's no
right.
There's no. They've never given up their old culture to get involved in the new one
because they don't have to.
They just want to change the new one back to the old one.
Yeah, because when you don't have to change, people generally are not going to change. Just as a general rule.
Right, yeah, and it's 100% true because when I was living in France, a place like surfing, I used to live there every summer for a few years, and my French was so shit, it's unbelievable. And the reason why it is because every fucker speaks English, and in that community, everyone's English.
Wait! They speak English in France?
Oh, everyone around the world speaks English.
Well,
Yeah.
no. I mean, but you're saying that they
All the
speak
French
English
speaking.
primarily?
Well, no, but they can speak it really well. That when I
Oh, so you don't have to. I see what you're saying. They speak English. The majority of them speak English enough that you don't have to learn the language because you just go, "Hey, you speak English," and they go, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's how it is in.
When I lived in Japan for a few months, I taught out there English. When I was young, I had a load of fake qualifications. I fudged them all up and went out there before it got really strict, and I got myself a job at teaching English in '89.
Uh-huh.
It was 4-year-old Japanese kids that were fluent in English. Unbelievable. And they never caused any problem in a classroom. They're not like British or American kids. They are so well behaved. Unbelievable.
Well, yeah, that's their culture.
But it's just they pick up things so quick. I mean, you can look at like look at the Western nations like America, all of them. You look at it and you think, when did we ever have that made these countries so great? Or now we've just gone past it and we're crumbling? Or were we like that once? I don't think we ever were like that. They've got a whole different mindset about respect levels and respect to your elders. It's an amazing thing to see, because you just bad behaviour in Japan, even out on the piss and all that, is like in clubs getting pissed and drunk. It's just nothing. You would not see what you see in England in Japan.
Yeah.
You see a car doing a little bit of speeding, 5 miles an hour over the limit, and you see multiple police cars come flying, chasing him down, get him out like he's a major criminal. I mean, it's like extreme.
That's really funny, because like I lived in South Korea for 3 years, and like
You did?
yeah, I was sort of young.
Were you stationed there?
No, my dad was. This was when I was a kid. My dad was an aerospace engineer, and he had an overseas assignment there. But I was saying it's funny that you mentioned the Japan traffic laws, because Koreans drive like maniacs.
The
Japanese
in their fucking cars. This is back in the 80s. If they start speeding, this is I think their speed limit maximum on their motorways is like 65 miles an hour. If they start speeding, a fucking alarm goes off inside the car, really loud, like woo woo woo. It drives you fucking insane,
Yeah,
it's a crazy place,
Yeah,
but they are really strict with their laws,
But like, but going back, like they also really, like, most countries speak English a lot better than we speak their language. And I guess I thought this was exclusive to America, but I guess it's a British thing as well. What'd you say, Paul?
Well, it's because that was the first major world trading language.
Yeah.
What Chinese language is it? I can't remember. But they were the two big two. So obviously the West, everyone has to speak that language. It became the business language, didn't it?
Yeah.
So so it's taught everywhere. But there's this whole fight against the whole language now, like as if to try and not learn it. It's just extra petty, like, bureaucracy that the world doesn't need. I remember at one point when I was younger, in like the 80s, they tried to invent a business language, which was it is variations of loads of languages put together. I can't remember what it was called. Anyway, and they tried to make that take off. But what's the point when you've already got a language that's working, servable, and easy to learn?
Yeah, it's gonna just happen organically.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I've noticed a lot in America. There's a big push against speaking the English language and swapping it for Spanish. But that, I know Spanish is a massive language. It's a beautiful language as well. But there's
just a major push for
anything Western from British roots is condemned because of empire, basically.
Yeah, right. Well, our left over here is so
insane.
Yes,
it is. It's so incredibly liberal that they're so accommodating to outside cultures that they're willing to sacrifice all of it what we've built as an American culture, to the point where it's sacrificial. It doesn't make sense.
The second it impacts their life, they won't want to know. Because if you look at the people that make up progressives and these new liberals, the old liberals We're pretty liberal. New liberals aren't. They don't know anything that what they're on about. Look at that discussion, that argument I had the other week with a bunch of liberals when they were talking about before those 2 people were killed that went off cycling into ISIS territory. And I was going, if they do that, they will be killed. This is before they went.
Like, duh.
Right? I went, don't be stupid. And they were calling me racist and all that. And they were going, oh, no, everyone, if you love people, everyone will be the same. I said, no, you don't understand. He's like, ISIS, you're their sworn enemy. There's no. Anyway, they got killed. And I had the whole kind of people were calling me everything. Of course they're going to get killed.
I remember, Well, what did you think was going to happen? How could you be...
you have to be so ignorant of human nature to think that. Like, it's so naive. And I think, like, that the bicyclist case is, like, kind of the most extreme example of that philosophy. But, like, it kind of speaks to... It's not the first time it's happened.
There was a girl who went backpacking. Yes. A few years ago, there was some girl who was like, I'm going to prove that, it's totally safe and everybody's happy there. And some girl went backpacking alone through the Middle East, through, like, Iraq or Iran.
Joe.
And she fucking got killed, too.
Yeah. When I moved out to northern Sumatra, right, which was in the mid-90s, yeah? And
Is that right?
Before everything really kicked off, and I lived north of Medan, and I was there for 5 months. It's a hard place to travel, Sumatra. Down the south, it chops and changes into, like, you'll go to a little town. It's all little Catholic girls in blue and white uniforms, all really weird, really organised with church and bells like you'd find in England. Then you get a real hardcore tribe, full-on tribal wear, just 2 miles down the road. Then after that, you'll get some other town. They're all very different, very tribal. But once you get around sort of Medan and north of that, it becomes very strict Islamic. And when we got off the bus in Medan, literally immediately, my girlfriend had cut down jeans on and a T-shirt. Literally, there must have been 40 men come flying up to us, screaming. I had to get all our stuff out of our bags, covering everything. And then luckily for us, in about 20 minutes, half an hour down, another bus came along. I said, just get on it now. So we just got on to this bus like that. But it was absolutely terrifying. And all the time was the mainland. She had to be totally covered up, right? And
Jesus Christ.
But to the point that it was terrifying. I had to carry a weapon all the time there. All the time.
Where was this again?
How can anybody defend?
But then you go to, I put her through that. I didn't research. I just didn't know that it could be that.
No. Right.
95. In this day and age, I was shocked.
Yeah. Adam, what was your question?
What country was this?
North Sumatra. It's the stronghold for ISIS recruiting today. The biggest Muslim nation. But
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Sumatra's the stronghold for ISIS.
North Sumatra. That's where they recruit from. Most ISIS fighters come from.
That I hadn't heard that.
People think Indonesia. They think of Bali. They think of Lombok. They think down through Java. They think it's all westernized. Literally from Jakarta down, it's really westernized.
Yeah.
But when you go north. And you start traveling up, you get to islands like, you go over to Nias. And north of the Nias Island, like 60 years ago, there's still cannibals there, It's
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, extreme. That was the epicenter.
How fun is that?
I lived on Nias for a while because I surfed. They've got a fantastic right-hand wave on it. It's just amazing. And
how long did you surf for?
For years, full time. But literally, in '93 when I left London, I left London with my cousin Pete and my brother Jay for the sole purpose of surfing as much as we possibly can and having a laugh. And I think I surfed from '93 to about 99 solid. But I'll come over in the winters to go to uni. Apart from 1 year I skipped time out and went to Indo instead. But it's just a fucking brilliant life. And if you've never done, I always wanted my kids to have that life, always. But because of my work and what I did, I had to go into moving lands, and it never sort of happened. And I really regret that they didn't have that because it's fucking.
You're talking about when you say you regret them not having that. You're talking about moving around so much.
Being full-time surfers, being able to grow up with a surfboard, it's
okay.
a limb, and then because that I can literally go anywhere there's surfing in the world, and I'll know someone there or someone that does. It's a real connected family. There's nothing else. It's a lifestyle that When I turned up in Nias, I knew about 3 people who knew my mates. People I'd been in France with the season before. It was extreme. But my first week there, 3 white...
So it's like you had people... You were already welcomed by the time you got there.
Exactly. And it was a surf community. But I was the only idiot that took the fucking hard road up through Sumatra on public buses. Fucking hell. Everyone flew to Jakarta and got another plane to the island north fucking Nias, where I didn't know there was an airport. And they flew there, but I didn't travel back through that way, but But yes,
that had to be terrifying. Yeah, of course. Well, you get to see you get exposed. You get to be exposed to all kinds of different people, all kinds of different cultures.
It's all the women. It's the girls and it's the party scene. It's just fantastic when you're younger, So it's like if you could pick up, if you're a teenager or you think, what is the best possible life I could have? It's surfing. It's just amazing. The camaraderie, the places you go, the things you do, that actually fucking scaring yourself to shit constantly all the time through peer pressure. Paddling out on swells and shitting your pants, going, fuck me, I'm terrified, but you can never show it, But all that type of thing, it's really character building, if you like, but it changes you, the person, So,
of course.
One of the best things I've ever done in my life was to get involved in that scene,
I actually, not to get off topic, but I have a quick question for you. A lot of people assume you to be a British native, but you're not, are you?
I am.
But you were born and raised somewhere else, weren't you?
No, I wasn't. I was born in Britain. But if you look over the media, sometimes it's wrong what they write. And also there's this other guy.
Oh, okay. Well, let's clear the air. I thought you were born somewhere else.
No, there's a guy that did an interview in the Daily Mirror, and they thought he was me. Years ago, this guy, and he was talking about how he was adopted and all that, and it's still there today. You can still find the article, and it wasn't me, and it's got all the links to me, and I've been asking them for years to get those fucking links off. That's not me. I was never adopted. I didn't do this interview, and they've refused because they didn't do their fucking checks first, and there's this shitty little photographic artist called Paul McGowan. It was after I did my Precipice show in London in 2010 that caused so much problem, and it's made world news and all this came to it and all that type of thing. I wouldn't do any interviews with anyone because basically I was hounded out of London by paparazzi. And then when I got back, then I went up to my kids' school. There's all outside my kids' school, and I thought this is getting too much for my family now because I was doing lots of controversial things, and I for some reason a couple of years before the mainstream press started picking up on things I was doing, and I didn't really have. I wasn't a single person in London living in the art scene. By that time, I was a family man, trying to be a family man and be in the art world still. I'd sort of I'd given up on making it in the art world. I was selling pieces here and there and doing like a solo show every few years. But I'd given up. Nobody makes it. Right? I went to 4 art schools, and I'm the only professional artist I know out of 4 art schools. And it's so. I know brilliant artists. I know brilliant artists, far better than I know ones that are represented that can't even get a fucking show. It's a really weird world. But for some reason, I got picked up on it, but it wasn't what I wanted it to be. So
how do you mean that? What do you mean by that? Can you elaborate on that?
Well, when
what did you want it to be?
I just wanted it to be. I didn't want art students writing to me. I didn't want people asking me questions. I don't know. I wanted it to be. Nobody's ever heard of artists. Nobody's ever heard of artists. You can be really big in the art world, and nobody's ever heard of you. But when there's a time that comes once national papers start picking up on you, then you're on, and the internet had just started. Then you can be found out, and you haven't got no secrets from anyone. So, because as soon as you meet anybody, they know all about you. They can just Google you and find out everything about you. So you're always meeting people on the back foot. You can't even tell a lie. You can't go and say, "I'll do this, whatever." Somebody will find out in 5 minutes. So you can't, you can't. Also, whenever you move your studio and you move
you're talking about staying anonymous. You're saying that your
famous artists are pretty much anonymous. They're pretty much walk around society. Even Damien Hirst walked around society. Obviously, he can't, but no. But you know what I mean when he started out his career, and then basically it was interfering with my family life, and I was finding it difficult.
Okay, that's a bit of a juxtaposition, then, isn't it? I mean, at first you're saying nobody knows who you are as an artist, but then I guess
then I got picked up by national papers like normal, like The Guardian and things like that. So they didn't run articles.
And that all happened. That all happened in 2010.
No, that started happening in about 2007.
2007.
Yeah,
and what happened that caused that?
I don't know. I did an auction and I put in a poster print, and Damien Hirst for a charity. And Damien Hirst put his first book that come out or something like that, and a drawing of a shark in it and signed. And there's lots, and all the artists were massive. And to be honest, I was really lucky to get in there. Okay. My piece outsold all theirs, and it was they put BBC about it. It's only a poster print, and that was like wow. And then I've always been able to maintain good auction price. So I think that meant. I think that.
Do you think that's what
that helped me? And because I speak a lot, I could do good interview basically. But I'd always be cut out. Like I've done interviews for I don't know, the BBC on loads of occasions, and they've just taken the whole lot out because it's been totally over the top.
When you do interviews for the BBC, do they edit the shit out of it in order to change it and make it change the narrative to make you look however they want you to look?
They'll ring you up and they'll say, they'll have a PR ring you up, and they'll ring whoever's looking after that show at their PR and say, can we say this, that Paul said this? And then that PR will ring me up and say, do you mind if they say you said this? And I'll go, yeah, whatever, whatever. And they'll write it down. And you haven't said any of it,
Wait. But so you're coming to they're coming to you with approval on hey, can we say that you said this?
They always want a quote, don't they? They always want a quote about the work and that.
Sure.
Like my definitions of the work, because it was just, I was always get involved in horrible, nasty subject matter, really. And I used to love that.
I knowing you, as long as I've known you, that doesn't surprise me in the least. So now, did the BBC come to you for quotes, and then they would quote you for things they didn't get approval on?
Yeah, and they'd ask permission if they could do it. And I was never really interested in the press thing. Do you know what? I've never read one whole review that I've done or any newspaper article.
Is that right?
Not fucking one. And I just can't.
Why why don't you read your reviews?
What else I don't like nowadays, which I never turn. I haven't turned up at one of my shows for fucking years and years, unless it's been a group show and I've had friends there, and I go about once a year. I turn up. I've done the last 4 years. I've done shows in Ibiza, urban and Ibiza shows.
Are you talking about gallery shows?
Yeah, but different. I never go.
You don't go to your own gallery shows?
No. When I showed the Drang a few years ago, they made me sign a contract. I'd turn up at both of them. I turned up at the first one. I didn't turn up at the second. They'd given up at that point. But I'm a mess at shows. I hate them. But I used to love it.
Why do you hate them? Is it the attention?
Can you imagine how many times I've been asked the same questions?
Oh yeah. All right, that's fair.
Stupid fucking things like, what gives you your inspiration? Fuck, I don't know. I'm pissed after that. I'm off my face when I do any work. So basically, I can't even remember half the time. The amount of times I woke up the next day, I went, fuck, I love that. Oh, crap. I once got hammered on booze and acid. And I was just about to, I just completed this solo show. It took me 2 years to paint it for the Salt House. It was back in the day when solo shows ran for a month. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you guys still here.
So basically, I came in one night hammered and off my face, and I thought it would be a good idea to start painting. And I painted all over everything, big black lines. And I woke up like late, about 5 or 6 o'clock next evening. I couldn't move. My body was so fucked. And I looked on the walls. I went, fuck, I fucked everything. And I literally ruined everything. And I had to just work hell for 11. Luckily, and it just it came off, you know.
Wow.
But you know,
so have you ever gotten so fucked that you don't remember making paintings?
All the time.
Then you wake up, like you get sober, and you're like, I did that. I made that.
I find
that artwork.
I've literally got nothing in my folders at the moment because I've had a lot of surgery over the last 3-4 years on my hands, like masses of it, and it's really I can't really produce work. And as a matter of fact, I've lost some of the function in my right hand.
Can we talk about your hand?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so what was this? This was 4 years ago that something happened with the police.
Yeah, it goes all the way back to 2010 when the riot police basically raided my Precipice show. And
why did the riot police come to your show and
well,
raid
I know why now, but at the time we didn't know. They said it was an anonymous tip-off, and it was if it had been the day before, it would have been brilliant for us. But it happened on the day of the show, and they shut down part of London, and it was a nightmare. And it was a BBC News bulletin article around wanted bomb. It was massively over-exaggerated, massively by the police. And
they shut down part of London to raid your show.
I know, amazing. It was all over the world when it happened. But when I was being told by my dealer, I was in a hotel room, and I thought he was lying, and I thought he was just winding me up. Until I walked.
Wait! You weren't at the show when they raided it?
No, they jumped out fully armed. They jumped out fully armed to the girl, a young 19-year-old girl, that opened up the gallery in the morning of the day of the private view, you know, and with machine guns a lot, scared the shit out of her, you know, and but this is what had been happening in the press was. There's a lot of problems with people have been found out that the London bus bombs, there was a phone call before saying it was, you know, there had been bombs planted and transport wasn't stopped. And there was a big hoo-ha about all this type of thing. And
this was happening at the same time as your show was going down.
Yeah, this is and also my whole finishing team were Muslims in Birmingham, and my printer was a Muslim in Bath. They're lovely people. Their lifetime, they've been here for years. They were liberal Muslims that ran away from, you know, extreme Islam when it started to come out and be rebranded by the Ayatollahs. They
back in the late 70s, right?
Yeah,
like we were talking about.
People like us, you know, they don't wear full burqa. They ran from that type of thing. They're just dead normal, you know.
Sure.
I've known for years, and I think it might have had something to do with that as well, but.
What's a finishing team? Can you tell me what a finishing team is?
Oh, like when I get metals like sculpture and metal pieces all plated up in like either like nickel or chrome finishes and things like that, buff it all and then replate it so it all looked nice and tidy after it had been from a raw state. It gets finished, you know, so it looks cool, you know.
So after you mess with something and sculpt something, they finish it if it's made out of metal.
Yeah, and they can.
Oh, okay, all right.
Or if I cast something, send it off and things like that.
And then they finish it. Got it.
Yeah. So I think it might have had something to do with that, but because the artwork that they pulled me on, the bomb on the stepladder, that was basically I finished that in like 2006 or 7.
The bomb on the stepladder was the artwork that they rated you for?
Oh yeah, how ridiculous is that? So
Are you fucking kidding me? They raided you for a picture of a bomb?
I know, in a gallery, and it's like an old one. And I said to the guy that made me the bomb, I said, Mark, can you make me one, but like an old cartoon bomb with a clock on it? I gave him a brief.
Oh my God. And they raided you for a fucking painting of a goddamn bomb.
No, the painting is a piece of sculpture, but it wasn't a painting, it was the piece of sculpture that basically all those prints come from that, yeah. But so basically they raided flat, but we found out as the months went on that day there was a new guy that took over on the riot squad, and the whole night before, remember they're meant to be thinking this is a real bomb and a real issue.
I think I remember you telling me about this.
They parked their vans on round the corner of the gallery, so nobody else could park in front of the gallery. So it'd been there the whole night before. Now, if you think that's a bomb, and you don't sit and wait for the gallery to open the next day, do you? You just go in and do whatever you have to do. But it was a big PR exercise. They called the BBC and everything like that. So when they turned up in the morning, it'd all be covered. And it was just all a big dysfunctional, backfiring PR stunt. And I found that out by Googling it until I found the police specials website. And I read their own comments and other police officers' comments going, oh, it's fucking ridiculous and all this type of thing. And that's how that came about. But what that did, and I had to agree to, whenever I posted or transported any piece of artwork that had any sort of looking like there was drawings or like that could be any way associated with a bomb mechanical piece or anything, I had to ring the police and tell them before I was transporting it. It's bullshit. And basically, so after the next leg of the show was in the city of Bath where I lived, so I had to ring up the police in the city of Bath, and then they all found out who I was, and then the police in Bath started pulling me over every 5 minutes because the Met had been totally humiliated and embarrassed, really, trying to catch.
Did we lose him?
Like fake bomb.
What was that, Adam?
He cut out for a second.
Can you hear me?
Who did?
Paul did.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, I didn't catch that. He didn't cut out for me.
Yeah, it's probably my internet then.
Yes.
Is he getting here now?
Yeah, I can hear everyone now.
I can hear.
Sorry, carry on.
Okay, great. All right.
Basically, when you've got a tag over like that hanging over your head, coppers just pull you over just to see, and they'll pull me over, fuck me around, take all the stuff out of my car, and and then start arresting me for stupid stuff. But once they arrested me for saying the word shit, and I was fully arrested and taken.
Wait. That's legal? They can do that?
Well,
they can arrest you for saying the word shit?
It's not legal now, but it was after Tony Blair's singing, swearing in public place. They tried to clamp down on, I don't know why, but it's just ridiculous. But
I didn't know about this. Tony Blair.
Basically, I said shit in an argument.
There was a law saying you can't cuss in public?
Basically, it was about, what was the law? It was called, I've sent you, I've been arrest rap before.
I remember seeing the arrest record. That's right.
I've sent you loads of. I was arrested loads of times. It's just ridiculous. And I
remember that picture of you that you sent me, and it had the words "me" being arrested on it.
I was stop and searched in my car 36 times in about 3.5, 4 years.
Dude, you live.
And on the last big occasion, 3 times.
You live in a dystopia, dude. Like that. It's fucking crazy.
Like, oi! You got a cursing license, mate.
But there's one. So once they've done me saying the word shit and took me in for arguing it's just offensive language toward, I don't know, whatever the fucking thing was, and then another time I was stationary in my car. And my car engine was still on, my mobile phone, and a copper saw me, a local copper, and he arrested me because I didn't switch my car engine off and got me done for that, and I'd pay a fine. All stupid.
But you're not driving. You're not talking while driving. If your car is idle, that's called standing.
If your engine's on and you're on a road, you get done.
Dude,
only
fuck your country, dude.
It's fucking shit. And and then another one. Basically, after London, I went out of this this Metropolitan policeman's daughter. She was only about 23. It was about 6 years ago.
I was wondering when we were going to get to this. Yeah,
Basically,
I want to hear this.
Basically, I had to kick her out my house. Right? She drove me nuts.
Well, start from the beginning. You started seeing some girl.
Yeah.
Okay, so did you know when you started seeing her that she was the daughter of this police chief?
Yeah, she was also my ex-wife's whatchamacallit, goddaughter.
Oh, so she was a friend before you even started fucking her.
Oh yeah, I know her mother and everything.
so she was a friend of your ex-wife?
Yeah, and also my other partner after that was her godmother as well. But it was a nasty.
You like to recycle. You like to go
like a love square. I was terrible at one point, but anyway. So basically, I had to kick her out because her cocaine was just fucking extreme, and she was just. I couldn't even deal with her anymore, And I had to kick her out.
She was high on coke.
Massive amounts, So basically, I had to kick her out while she had a friend who was staying here, and then while she was gone, I didn't hate her. Well, I did. I hated her, but I'm not. I hated her more. I hated myself more for letting her come and live in my house. Stupidly.
Right, and so that kind of transfers onto her.
Yeah, and basically, she deserved the hate anyway because she went and robbed we made an arrangement for her to pick up all her stuff, and basically, she robbed my fucking house. She turned up early when she knew I was in my studio and robbed my fucking house.
Well, she's a coke whore. What did you expect? Why would you let her coke whore? Was she in your house alone?
Fucking hell, she had a key. I'd never got it back.
Well, you don't give coke whores keys. What are you doing? You know better.
Well, look, this is my life. Everyone's like in that time. Any young girls like that.
Oh, my God.
Because there's no other scene in London, and things like that. So anyway,
Jesus.
I rang up and I said, look, I want my cameras back, I want my hard drives back, I want all my fucking paperwork back. She nicked loads of stuff, all my fucking songwriting, all this stuff. I said, look, if you don't do it, I'm just going to fucking ring, I'll fucking go up to the police. And I rang up her dad and he didn't answer. And got the police to come and fucking get me. And I was in my studio, and about 20 minutes later, all these fucking police I'm flying in. They nicked me. They took a knife out my toolkit, like a 4-inch little baby knife, like I used to take fishing as a kid. Arrested me for a deadly weapon. They arrested me for my tablets, my anti-inflammatories were on the side. They arrested me for drugs, and then sending her a text and giving me my fucking stuff back. And got me on all these trumped-up charges. And it took 6 months till I was on probation, waiting for them to drop them.
This is why you don't fuck the police chief's daughter. This is why.
Yeah, I know. But fuck it. I like to live dangerously. But anyway.
Clearly.
So this went on, but I constantly kept getting arrested. And eventually, I got pulled over. They said I didn't have my lights on my car when I was driving one night. And I did, because it's a brand new car, and you can't drive with the lights off. It's as simple as that. And basically, they pulled me over and breath tested me all right. And I don't really drink. Especially wasn't then. And basically, I passed. And then I started saying, look, I'm not fucking stupid. I know what this is all about. You just fucking pulled me over on the off chance and you messed me about. Anyway, he went and handcuffed me, totally unexpectedly, really violently, got me down on the floor. And I felt my wrist go like crack. Right? And it was just fucking agonising. And
what year are we talking about?
This is 2014, I think. 2014.
Okay.
2018.
So he's handcuffing you and twisting your wrist, and that's what caused it?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, and at first, because I'd hurt my wrist months before, and I wasn't sure if he had actually broken it or what, but it just swelled up again, But I was always having a brace on my wrist at that time anyway, because I was waiting for it to heal, But then I went to go and have an X-ray, and they saw the whole joint that holds my thumb, base of my thumb, just disintegrated, smashed to pieces. So then I went going through a court case procedure for fucking years and years and years, and it's just about to get to the end, and they was going to sort of settle. We'd already had the meeting with the police, and then they found out that 4 months before they'd done that to my knuckle, my wrist, there was an unfound when I had my accident, a thing called a Bennett's fracture at the bottom of my thumb. And the reason why my hand exploded like that is because I had a little mist on the X-ray. Like it was a Y-shaped fracture. They don't heal with it. And so now I've got another sister looking at my paperwork, but it's like, who do they blame? And the court case is really complicated. And I've spent years and years and years going through it. Now I have to start again from the whole beginning. And now they want me to play, like, put up my house for collateral. So fuck that.
Wait. You're in court because you're trying to get the money from them to pay for your medical bills, right?
Yeah. The thing is, I haven't got like a criminal record. Right? I work if you Google me, I still work for stacks of charities. I do lots of good shit. I'm not like a taker from society and just selfish, you know.
Sure.
I'm not a cunt, and I can be, but I mean, and the thing is, they knew all that anyway. And then they even had the cheek to ring me up to see if I'd donate art for the fucking retired policeman's trust. I went, fuck you, not a
chance. That's pouring salt in the wound right there.
But it got
by the way, want to donate some fucking art? Yeah. How about how about I piss in a fucking cup and you can have that? All right. I'm gonna call that art. There you go.
Do you know how bad it was? I've done worse than that and put it out and exhibit it as art. I'll tell you what things I've done in a minute. But it got so bad at one point with the local policeman that one night I came in, it was in the summer, I had my front door open, so I called the house down, my back door open. And I walked around into the living room. I had a copper peering through my blinds and one standing in my living room. And he was going, I heard there was a burglar. I went, no, you're lying your spine on me. Get out. Let's outside. It's like it become a hobby,
What time was it when they were looking through your windows like that?
It was about 2:00 in the morning, and the funny thing is...
Are you kidding me? You had cops looking through your windows at 2 in the morning?
They rung me up, and they said, if I let it go, my life will go back to normal. And that's it. And then at that point,
Wait. They rang you up and said, if you let it go, your life will go back to normal.
Yeah, exactly.
If you let what go? Them? Looking through your windows?
Because I had complained at this point to my MP, to the chief head of county police. I just wrote to loads of people.
Your police are fucked, man.
They're totally corrupt. I mean, especially the Met. About 15 years ago, the Met were caught doing hits for the mob. You can Google it. You can get it on the British Parliament website. They're doing hits for the mob, charging 500,000 and $1 million per hit, and they got caught smuggling heroin into Britain. Our Met police, it's corrupt as fuck. And
so you've got
police are literally retards.
You've got the British police funneling drugs and doing hits for the mob, and then you have your politicians. It wasn't there. There's a big there's a big expose, wasn't there? Who is it? Seville and all the politicians and who is it? Media elite that were all connected in a pedo ring.
Oh fucking yeah! It's the whole of that establishment. That whole big top end of Britain are just fucking dirty perverts, basically. And the thing is, Theresa May said she lost the list after it was produced to her, and all the records went as well, as if they're not.
Wait! Lost the list of people that were involved in that pedophile ring.
It all got handed to Theresa May, and everyone thought, "Good, we're going to get them at last." And then the list went missing.
Are you fucking kidding me?
No.
My god! Were there riots in the streets?
People they've been going mental ever since. But the thing is, this is how corrupt British legal. Fuck Labour and fuck Conservatives. They're all as bad as each other. Because you think
you don't really have a Conservative.
Just think how demented Labour are and what they're trying to push through now. The Conservatives, our right-wing party, have been going along with it all the way. They've been putting up all these laws against restriction of speech.
You don't have a right-wing party. I mean, I know that they're called right-wing where you're at, but I mean, comparatively, for those who don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Paul, but both Labour and your the Tories, both of those are left of center. Like
Well,
you don't have
the Conservatives aren't less of centre. They're not as far right as your Republicans, but they're a lot further on than the Democrats. But our Labour are, well, actually, I'll be really honest. Even though your progressives and your left wing are so shit, they haven't got any of the things they've wanted in the whole of the time they've been fucking. They're useless, right? I mean, they've got, even though they push and shout all these extreme left policies, they don't get any of them. Our Labour government's got quite a few for them, and the Conservatives have gone along with it, the whole shebang. They're not a resistance. There's like a liberalism that runs through society in Europe and the West, and that liberalism goes through Conservative and Labour. It's just big money, isn't it? Making it their way, but it's all about it's all about one sort of, the same people that are pushing mass immigration, which is just cheap labour, which is really why people are loving the Mexicans there and letting them come in and out. Even though everyone said it before, Trump and had these, let's curb fucking immigration and sort that border out.
Well, yeah, we need to.
Now they've actually got Trump trying to do something about it. First thing, is it's really cheap corporate labour, and to keep wages really low. Like in Britain, people go out and work full time, and then they still get a tax credit on top for working full time because their wage is so low that they can't make ends meet. Now, in 1980. No,
so basically their income gets subsidized?
Yeah, because wages have been stagnant for 30 years ago, when I was my son's age.
Mm-hmm.
I was taking home 2.5 times what he is now, 32 years ago. And that's how bad it is. And back then, houses, when I bought my first house, I was right, and my mortgage and my value in my house was 3.5 times what I made. So you could really scream and save and pay it off in 5 years. But now houses are like, even a starter home is like 300,000. So what's that? $360,000 or whatever as a starter for a young person to come in, but the wages are still fucking about the same as what they were back then, because they brought in a minimum wage, and as soon as they brought wage, first thing every employer did, paid everyone the minimum wage and say, oh well, at least we're paying you minimum wage. Before that, they had to headhunt staff. When I had a lot of money in London years ago, when I was working in the fashion industry, literally, my mate said, after I'd left the army, I didn't know what to do with myself. He goes, come and work for us and just get your head straight and start before you start thinking about what you want to do. So I went and worked in fashion, and I had a good flair for it. Basically, I just got to let everyone headhunt me. My wages tripled in 2 years, and I loved it. But at the end of the time, once I got to about 23, I thought, I can't do this any longer. I end up like a 35-year-old man with a ponytail. Fuck that. So I had to get out before it went on. Before it ended up a career. Everyone thought I was mad when I left, but I hated it. Right? Is that still going?
Yeah, we're still here. I think Auger might have gotten kicked.
Yeah, so that was it. That was an accidental career. It sort of slowed me down a bit, But it was worth being slowed down for.
All right. Hello?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Sorry about that. Got cut off again.
Sorry.
So, did I catch everybody at a pause? Is that what happened?
I don't know. I think I'm pretty much done that anyway. So,
so now I'd like to revisit the issue with your hand. When the cop busted your wrist, basically. How much has that affected? How much did that end up affecting your ability to create art?
Well, I can't draw anymore. Yeah, the funny thing is, right? Last year I did this show. What's the fucking big gallery? It's the Mall Galleries in London, and it's like an open. And I put in this drawing I'd never finished, and those drawings are the two kids skipping, right? I think you might. And I never finished it. And I did it when my hand was bad, but not as bad as it is now. When I think I did it after my first operation. And every operation, my hand got worse. It was a nightmare. And basically,
your hand keeps getting worse with every operation.
Oh, fucking it did, man. Everything you could think of went wrong, basically.
Jesus Christ!
I had bone grafts and everything. 7 ops. It was a nightmare. Went on for ages, and my hand wouldn't take the titanium they put in it. All type of thing it rejected. It was a nightmare, you know. And I don't want to go over that, you know. But basically, they asked me to put this drawing into this show, right? So I put this drawing in, and I looked at it, and I didn't realise till I was about to send it off that I hadn't finished it, and the girl only had one leg. But nobody noticed it because it's like a an angle thing that you don't notice unless Anyway, I put it in, and it won the fucking show award at the Mole Gallery. and I was there. They come to the awards bit of the evening. It's a big posh swanky evening. Right. And I was with Tim, who's a brilliant young artist, and we're chatting away. I went, I fucking hate these award bits. They ruin the night, stagnate it all down, and it's just fucking dull. And as I said it, they called out my name to win, and I had to go up on the stage, and I didn't know what to do. I hate stuff like that. I hate all that attention shit. So I went up there, then couldn't turn around and face everybody because I was wasted. And I sneaked off around the back and sort of left. And they come rushing out to give me my check. And so that was the story. And I can't believe it's the only time I've ever won a drawing. I was a draftsman. I was never that great, to be honest. I was more as an ideas man. And I did it with my shitty dammy hand. How fucking crazy is that? And it with one leg. Well, it's the most straight thing I've ever produced. Let me see if
you won an award for drawing a gimp chick with one leg.
And then it ended up being my top selling print for the whole year. It was like, I was really pleased. And then I did another just like it, see how that would sell, and that was exactly the same. So over the last few years, what I've been doing is archiving all my history of the last decade, pulling everything out, the originals, and getting them prepared to be made into print runs. So I've got a massive print index, and that's what I've been doing. And it ended up a lot more expensive than I thought it would be, but it's been really rewarding because I can actually see what I've got, and also the amount of things I've forgotten. I find what we're going back to earlier on.
Really,
I can't remember.
There's artwork that you've done that now that you're going back and looking at everything, you're finding stuff that you forgot about.
I don't even know who owns it. I can't remember. Because I don't. I'm terrible. My accountant's always saying to me, "Paul, where's the list?" And I'll go, "There's that skip one. I just posted it. That one that award." But uploading it. But basically, I've already done things. Look, she's got one leg.
Have you ever slept with a girl who was missing a limb?
No, but I wouldn't be surprised if you had. No.
I slept with a girl who was missing half her arm, her right arm. She had a nub. That was kind of fun. You ever slept with a girl? You ever slept with a girl who had like? It slipped my mind or anything like that. Really? You've never slept with a girl who's missing? You ever slept with a girl who's in a wheelchair?
Where I've been chatting. No, I don't think there's ever been a situation where schmoozing a girl and she's been disabled. No, ever. I can't think of that ever. I don't think most people have, because it's quite a rarity to get yourself in that situation.
It is unless you go looking for it. You ever slept with a girl who had cerebral palsy?
No, you have. You've got no shame.
What? I collect I like it. I like it weird. I don't know.
You've got weird, disgusting secrets.
You know my Nightcrawler story, don't you?
No, tell me it.
Okay, so I was working. I was temping for this company. This was years ago. I was like 22 or something like that, and I ended up temping for this cable company called Cox Cable. Swear to God, Cox Cable. I don't know if they're still around. Anyway, so I'm working at their headquarters, and it's my first day. I'm being kind of given a tour of the place, and I'm being introduced to different people in different departments. We go by this one department. I don't even remember what it was anymore. And I'm being introduced to these women, and I get introduced to this blonde who's about, at the time, I want to say she was in her late 30s, like 36, 38, something like that. And we're going to call her Cheryl. And Cheryl stands up. And he goes, this is Cheryl. She's the head of this department. And I go, oh, hi. And he goes, this is our new hire. I go to shake her hand. And as soon as I touch her hand, I realize there's something wrong with her hand. I don't know what it is, but it clearly doesn't feel right. So I decide, you can't go, ooh, like you can't make a face or do anything like that because they'll know, like, you don't want to be rude. So I smiled through it and just stared at her eyes so that I didn't look down at her hand. That's what you want to do. In my head, I want to look down at her hand and pull it and go, what the fuck is going on with your hand? But I don't do that. I go, hey, nice to meet you, Cheryl. And then like later, when I came around and I snuck a peek and I saw what the deal was. I forget what they call it, but essentially her fingers had fused together. So she had a thumb and she had two fingers, essentially. Like Nightcrawler.
I know when I was a kid in junior school, one of the girls in our class had that thing, so I know exactly what. Free. Right.
And I was fascinated. I didn't know anything about that at the time. I didn't even know that was a thing. I was like, holy shit, she got two giant fat fingers. And all I could think of immediately was, what would that feel like wrapped around my dick? And I wanted desperately. I had to know. So I set on this course to woo this woman. I was like, I've got to get close to her. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to do it. So I started coming in and bringing her coffee sometimes. I'd always make sure to come over and say hi. I'd chit chat with her. She seemed to enjoy the company. She enjoyed the attention. And it was a good couple months. I was telling my friends about.
Did we lose him?
Yeah, I lost you for a bit. But yeah, carry on. Yeah. You're back.
I'll just give him a minute. I want to see where this story is going.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
It's Joe.
Yeah, just Josh. What is that deformity called? I can't remember. They even had like a guy on American Horror Story. He had that deformity too. They called him like Lobster Man.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So I guess we can go ahead and get to the first question of the night.
I'll go and do it.
Just a little goofy one from Sarbama. Can you, I think this is going to be a tradition from now on, can you say "The South will rise again" in a Southern accent?
I saw that earlier on.
Yeah.
Let me think. Southern English I can. The South will rise again.
This fucking thing cuts me every time. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just done it. You're not getting it again. The South will rise again. I can do it in like.
Oh, did you do?
The South will rise again. That's English. My family live in Alabama. And half of my family are Americans. The funny thing, when I went to move there years ago, I wanted to live with my family. They wouldn't let me in.
What?
They wouldn't let me in.
Who wouldn't let you in?
So America. Basically, I was going to go and stay with my family and live in Connecticut. They wouldn't have me. They wouldn't even.
Why wouldn't they let you in?
They wouldn't even entertain it with all my cousins and everything, all living all over. I wouldn't have it. Just really not have it.
You couldn't even get in on like a work visa or anything like that?
Oh, I didn't want to work. I just wanted to go and.
Well, no. I didn't want to work. I just wanted to live here.
Party, you know?
Oh my God. So What's the weirdest? By the way, the chick that I was talking, I finally wooed her enough. I don't even know at what point I got cut off. I was trying to woo her. I don't know if I explained if I got that far. Okay, so yeah, I ended up sleeping with her, and it was weird. And I wanted to do it again. And here's the best part: is that I think, and when I say best part, I mean like. I'm not quite sure how I mean that. The best part was that I was so engrossed in her fingers that I kind of made that the focal point of the whole session. And I think she figured that out, that I was kind of there because of her hands.
You're a very strange man.
Wait. So I wanted to get together again. I was like, we got to do this more. And all of a sudden, after that first sex session, she just stopped. She started disconnecting, and she just wasn't as approachable. She wasn't, I couldn't get her to talk to me as much. She started to distance herself from me, and I totally think it was because she figured out, you're just there for my hands.
Yeah, she did.
Definitely, she caught on because I focused so much, and I realized, when I sleep with, strange people, that you can't if they've got some weird thing. I don't want to call them freaks because it's not very nice, and I don't want to call them because I'm just trying to be nice. I don't mean it in a negative way, but people with
you are what you are. Yeah.
Oddities. People with oddities. You can't focus. I learned a good lesson.
You've got a mental oddity,
I know I do.
Saw you popping up in my feed and that, you think this guy's worse than me. What he's posting, my God, how's he getting away with that? You weren't getting away with it. Right?
I miss the days when you could. What's that?
I pissed my pants off your posts half time, but I do that. I post what I do. Groups in bandit country all the time, man, and I get fucking caned for it, man. I love it, I really don't give a fuck because I know that other people they're just being sad sacks and just will not fucking. They're just terrified of posting anything in this day and age of political correctness. I'm not accepting it. I'm never going to be a part of it, so it's not going to bother my life. And if people, I've still got the same friends I had when I was at school. They don't give a fuck. They know what I'm like, and anyone that don't like it, I don't really care. I live in the country now. It's not like I go out social all the time.
I've talked about that before, where you have this issue where social media has kind of created this culture in which you need to it forces you to adopt two faces. Your public face
I'm not doing
and your
it.
private face.
I'm not doing it.
I know.
That's
I agree with you. I don't do it either.
And people can form it. That's the problem. They're basically assisting it.
I recently had somebody claim that somebody was making memes of me, and this is very, very recent. Somebody was making memes and claiming that they were sending them to my sister, to my mother, and then to some girl I don't even know. I guess they thought I knew her. I don't know. And I was all I could do when they said that was laugh, because my mother, I don't like you. I don't have two faces. I don't hide anything. My mother and my sister. If you called up my mom or my sister, or you sent them memes via email or messenger or something and said, "Do you see this? Look at what your son did or your brother did, or look at who he is." They would laugh so hard, yeah, and you think we don't know all this already? It was hilarious to see, dude, I'm not the one hiding. You are. And a lot of people do that now.
They are the ones that are hiding, and they're fucking alive. How just living a life where you can't say your opinions, honestly? How shit is that?
It's so frustrating.
The whole art world used to be about fucking saying stuff that is controversial, and controversy has always ruled the art world. But now
that's what art was supposed to be.
You're not in the club, and it's just pathetic. And I don't do a lot of gallery shows anymore and all that. I rely on collectors and things like that. But I've got to get back into it the shows at some point, because basically collectors get older and die out, and you die out, you're not selling so much. So basically, I need to get back into that whole thing, But I'm quite lazy, and I can't do it.
Aren't we all?
I've paid for my house now. I've got no mortgage or anything. I think my priorities are different to what they used to be, and I'm not searching for approval in my career anymore or anything like that.
Sure.
So it's on different terms. But basically, what I've got is what I've got, and if you don't like it, it's tough. And I know at some point somebody will buy it, so who cares, So I can only make a certain amount,
It's not going to stop you anymore. You don't have anything to lose.
No, I don't care. Once your mortgage is paid off and your kids are nearly grown up, fuck them.
Fuck them all. Now, you had mentioned before.
One of my proudest moments was when I bumped into a chap in London. I was watching Sky News yesterday, and they called you a wanker, and I went, "Oh fuck, that's brilliant!" And I didn't see it, and I was gutted on Sky News forum. I would love to have had that on tape. I would love to have had somebody calling me a wanker on Sky News, and I couldn't get it. And I contacted Sky, and I went back all the reviews and replays. It's not in there anywhere. I was so gutted. I actually emailed
on Sky News. Somebody called you a wanker.
Yeah, I know. How brilliant is that? Brilliant is that?
Like that would have been a great opener.
Oh my God! I would love to have it on audio. I'd love to. I'll just have it on repeat all the time. He's a wanker. But I don't know the exact wording of it or how it came about. I think it's obviously talking about some show in London. It was like a week or so afterwards when there's still a lot of controversy. And that 2010, that whole thing with the bomb thing, and that was even like in New York police state website. It's just fucking everywhere. It was just a nightmare. It wasn't a good thing for me, It was like, because it was just like.
What wasn't a good thing for you? Are you talking about the 2010?
Yeah, it haunted me for years because, it became it's like that was what I did, one thing. And that was, it was just taken out of context and it just totally ruined everything, But
okay, so you were
in value massive, and I archived it because of it. So I'm happy about that. Yeah.
I have you had mentioned prior that you wanted to talk about trolling. Now, when you told me about that, you had mentioned that you not only wanted to talk about trolling, but you wanted to talk about trolling instead of art because you saw them as not being any different.
They're the same thing.
Can you? Right. So can you talk about how do you see art and trolling online?
Well,
being the same thing. Can you elaborate on that?
I look at making a piece of artwork as something to expose or pinpoint something. So,
to kind of stir shit up to force people to see something they don't want to.
Find something profound, a talking point. That's what I'm always looking for. Talking points, not on everything I do, but when I'm working on a show, a whole bunch of work, I tend to build things around certain aspects and try and keep it on a theme type of thing. It's aggressive. I always do aggressive themes, like and when I troll, I set up some quite elaborate things over a period of time to sort of entrap certain people that I can't stand, But, especially Korean Jesus is fucking fantastic in Bandit Country for that because because he's a schizophrenic, so he goes between Johnny Speed and then Korean Jesus doesn't recognise that name because and then all the past history of posts change at that point, and like Johnny Speed's picture is like a white man, black tough. It's really controversial, but I do that to take the piss out of. I hate all it. See, basically. In Britain, there was no racism in the 90s. We all raved, and late 80s, and it is all gone. But what identity politics do, and the left, is stir up because they need the discord.
Yeah.
They need that sort of problem to gel them together and make a movement. They find more people to offend. It's their numbers,
You know what trips me out?
So massively since Brexit. And then over into America with Trump, that now the whole fucking world, I've never seen it like this in my life. Never, ever seen it. And it's just total fucking shit. Because, I remember the first time a friend of mine that was at a Trump rally said, and they had this whole CNN thing that come out that Trump had said, and I thought, oh, that's a bit fucking extreme. I went to him, no, never said that, never said that. And I went, well, what did he say? And he sent me his little thing that he shot on his phone. It was fucking nothing like it. And that's the first thing that opened my eyes up to everyone attacking Trump. And then I researched it a bit.
Was this during his campaign?
Ridiculous. No, love Trump or hate Trump. The things that they've got him most famous for credited saying that the left believe, never actually said, you know.
Well, and they oftentimes they try and spin it and twist it into something that he absolutely didn't mean. For example, you know what frustrates me is how they got everyone to believe that he made fun of some crippled reporter. Yeah, the disabled cameraman or something. And he does that. Oh, I don't remember. The thing is I remember seeing a 5-minute video of a collage of him for the last 30 years doing basically the same arm movements to mock different people as far back as the 80s. So this is something he does. It wasn't directly because he was making fun of this guy's disability. When he's criticizing someone, he does those arm movements, and he did it. It shows him doing it in different interviews on film, in the news or whatever, from the 80s and the 90s into the 2000s.
Yeah.
And they tried to spin it like, oh, he did that because he was mocking his disability. That's not what he was doing.
Even though I know that the left must have seen these films to prove these things wrong,
right?
They still prefer to go along with it rather than the truth. And that's what annoys me with there's a sort of a narrative, and you've got to believe in it like a religion, and you've got to go for it.
Yeah. It's not, well, that's why you can't call yourselves. They call themselves the free press, and I think it's laughable. You know, they're like, well, Trump's attacking the free press. There's no freedom. There's no liberty. There's no democracy without a free press. Yeah, I agree with that statement, but you can no longer call yourselves the free press when you clearly have a bias and an agenda. And you've been caught lying, and you've been caught in corruption. You've been caught spinning. I mean, it's clear that you're manipulating things.
There is a liberal narrative. There's a liberal narrative that runs through all the world's press, and it's
you know what's funny?
And it's absolutely. I talk to my friends of different countries all the time, and they always get their version of it, and it's running whether it's in Australia or anywhere. They always have it, and that is how
Australia scares me, dude.
Or you get all the different presses around the world to come out with the same narrative all the time. But also it exists in on the right wing as well, but they haven't got any big press outlets. But what they have got is Fox, which isn't like the greatest fucking things for journalists to go and work for, you know. But what Fox have got is, because there's no fucking right-wing media outlets, they've got fucking half the world watching them, you know, they want to watch news they like, but they all fucking lie. But I mean, how much, how little, how do you know? You have to research something so deeply in the facts now and go back. People ain't got time for that. So what I do is I listen to the BBC, I listen to CNN, listen to Fox, and I find somewhere in the middle, and I think that's right. You know,
yeah,
I haven't got time for all this shit. You know,
no, I agree. So I don't know how we veered so far off point, but we were going to talk about trolling and how you see that as being similar to the art world. And you started off saying that art is you've always used art to kind of expose a talking point.
Art is trolling. Look, when I make things I put around to get a reaction off people, it's no different to what a troll does. It's just different levels of how you apply it. But you know, there's some really clever trolls.
That's interesting.
There's some really clever trolls around, and I think personally it's like a 21st century art form, a little niche thing. Because I've been on the internet for a while now, a long time, well, into the 90s, right? And what it was really basic then. But yeah, there's always trolls in chat rooms and things like that. And right, just take copy pasta for instance, right?
Oh yeah,
that's become massive again, but it's not the first time it's massive. I mean,
Sure.
Now there's copy paste that goes round and round. Like sometimes I'll do copy paste, but I'll write my own, push it out, and see if it gets started. But
right,
it's lazy trolling copy paste. But there are some people who can do it really well.
What's funny about that is it's not really copy pasta at that point, is it? If you're writing your own and you're trying to
comes other people
generate.
You'll
generate. You're trying to get them to copy pasta in.
Like do you know who I think's a good troll that's effective? Look, do you remember in the elections there was those terrible Clinton trolls? They were terrible and they're so obvious and they were shit and they weren't funny. They couldn't get to a point. They were just inadequate and incompetent. But there's
the liberal trolls.
Well, yeah, that worked for Clinton. They'd be all over the feeds, and I pushed really hard on every level I hate Clinton. I've always had.
You and me both, brother.
A lot of them. He didn't let me into America. Fuck him. So basically, I don't like. I don't like the Clintons, so I just pushed really hard. And made a million moves, and I pushed out everything I possibly could. And the employed Clinton trolls would be on every feed. There's thousands of them. They were terrible. But if you look at the BCLR, just look at how it's done, how many brilliant trollers have been through there, have been really clever, come up with really funny stuff that really change the way you can look at something. And there's loads of brilliant trolls around. And this election so much is because everyone's sort of unified now in a group. And we that site but I wasn't going to tell anyone that, but I've mentioned it now that we know about progressive site. That site. I mean, we can do some brilliant shit with that. And I swear, I'm going to convince progressives that I'm going to create a thing for progressives. I'll see how many stupid things I can get them to follow, and my hand signals on a pavement so they don't bump into people and hit each other's safe spaces. I will have the progressives doing hand signals on pavements. I swear.
You know what? I can't imagine that it would be that hard, because have you seen some of the stuff these people are doing? Did you see the liberals who are against Trump, and they're like, if you hate Trump, then write "Love Trump's hate" on the inside of a toilet bowl, and then take a picture of yourself licking the inside of the toilet bowl, and there's a bunch of pictures of people doing that. And I'm like, who's convincing these idiots to do that shit?
They are fucking retards. Not even the police service would have them in the UK. They are just so dumb. And what gets me is some of them actually aren't that dumb, but they're willing to go along with the dumb narrative, because they don't want to challenge that whole situation of what's going on, that whole mechanic that's going on the left. And that mechanic that's going on the left, I think, is really fucking dangerous. I've never seen anything like it in my life, where basically people they're willing to spout anything to get their own way or to have their point, and they don't need any facts or any backup data. They don't need anything. They just hold them and go along with a whole narrative. There's just bullshit. Like in Labour, they've got this whole thing now about. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
They've got this whole thing about anti-Semitism going, in the Labour Party. And the Labour Party love everything Islamic. So basically, when I got back into the We Support Jeremy Corbyn groups, which are the main ones, and I waited till I got posts about 3 weeks old from there that people have posted, and I changed all the Israels to Islam, and me and Korean posted them all around their sites, and we immediately were banned from all of them. For Islamophobia. Swapped Israel for Islam. And that was it. So they go on about they are so working on this narrative that they cannot be wrong, but they all must.
It's crazy.
They are. But there is.
You know what's crazy is, like, before 2014, I didn't believe in that narrative that there was a liberal media bias. I thought, no, there's not. I did not. It wasn't until after 2014 that I started to gradually see that was true. I thought that was total bullshit prior to that.
I never But I never ever dreamt it was anything near the level where it is. Never dreamt. I would have thought.
Oh yeah, it's been great. It's been getting gradually worse. I mean, it's to the point now where it's insane.
It's demoralizing. You know, where do we go?
It's reaching a fever pitch to where it's insanity. Like they're not even trying to spin things in a believable way anymore. They're just foaming at the mouth.
It's just totally not. There's nothing backs up. The thing is, the left are like a football team that they'll follow their team no matter what, win or lose. They'll follow and follow and follow. Like I think what you've got to do with your own party. See, I'm not either right or left. I'm just anti-left, really. I'm not right-wing. I'm just anti-left. I can't stand them. And the thing is, if you cannot trust your narrative and you're willing to go on with anything, the party you should hold to account more than any others are your own. So right. You steer in the direction, not going on about the opposition's constantly 24/7. Get your own party. That's why the Democrats, 2 years on, have got no platform whatsoever. They've just got a load of retards running around like headless chickens. And basically, it's embarrassment.
Their platform is hate Trump. That's their whole platform. That's what they're running on.
But they're right. They may do well in these upcoming.
I don't think they will. I don't know why everybody keeps thinking that.
They think they're going to do, but the reality of it is, people. A lot of the time, midterms, they're sort of like a protesting. People. Half the people people don't turn up in the numbers they do at an election. It tends to be always the people that are really pissed off that tend to vote more. And same as like the midterms.
Well, it's older folks. The younger folks they'll show up at these protests so that they can get some anger out, and they'll scream and shout, and they'll knock over trash cans, and they'll break windows and do stupid shit like that. But they won't go out and vote. They won't do anything that's anything meaningful. I mean, the fact that Trump got voted in is proof of that. Like, young people don't come in, they don't vote.
No, they don't. They don't. Do you know, in Brexit, they voted their highest numbers of all time. It's the highest ever vote we've ever had for anything. And it was incredibly pressured because immediately they set out their stall that made it really hard for young people to vote honestly, or anybody, as if you vote Brexit, you're a racist. Fuck, what is that about? How did we get there? What the fuck?
Wait. So when the Brexit vote was taking place, there was advertisements saying that
the narrative was, if you vote Brexit, you're a racist. Yeah.
How the fuck do you? How does that make sense?
Do you know what they found? Look, this whole thing about the rise in the far right is not fucking true. There's always been the same amount of idiocies and extremists out there. There's always been.
It's a loud minority.
People that are very more on the right, like most of the alt-right, aren't really alt-right. They just fucking hate the left because the left drives them mad. And they're really over that side because they're hammering the left, because I can't stand what they are doing with their identity politics and basically stirring any sort of racial discord. They just want to fucking cause trouble because it helps their base, their voter base. It's like that's what they're all about. They used to be about socialists, working class people, the miners losing their jobs, people in factories losing their jobs, the unions. They used to be about that, but now they're not. Now they can see a different way of making their numbers up.
It's so weird.
It suits the modern world more because there ain't so many, unions like there were once before. So they've got this new voter
the
base,
unions are corrupt as fuck. I don't know about over there. But.
Yeah, but the reality of it is we are in as a global thing in the West, and it must be going on everywhere on its own way. Because these platforms,
well, they're trying to create.
I don't know how we get out of it. I don't know how we get out of it.
Well, things like what we're doing. There's a way out. But it takes the people behind it. The Brexit vote is one step in the right direction. What Poland is doing is a step in the right direction. Us voting against Clinton, whether you like Trump or not, is neither here nor there. The fact that we didn't vote for Clinton, she had everything backing her. She had the media backing her. She had Hollywood. She had Washington. She had the Saudis. I mean, she'd been chosen.
It was a hell of a year. We had Brexit and then Clinton lost. I was so fucking happy. You know, I was like,
I know.
Brilliant.
And those are steps in the right direction against this bullshit one world government kind of bullshit. And that's really what we're looking at. You know that they tried to start a union like the European Union, but over here, like an American union where they would take North America, Central America and South America and kind of have a council that would connect us all, and they had a currency planned that would be a one currency that they were going to call it the Amero, just like you have your euro.
We never had it in Britain. We got rid of it.
Thank God for that.
We didn't accept it. Thank God. But the thing is, those are popping up. Those sort of unions are like popping up everywhere. It's basically just corporations that want to deal everything in corporate law, and they want to get rid of sovereignty because sovereignty is a problem for them. You know.
Yeah.
So, like I don't know. It's just got to the point where if people don't realise who the real, there's no fucking hope. And the left have got suddenly, everything about them has totally changed. I remember when feminists used to march in London outside the Saudi fucking embassy, you know, against the full burqa. Well, the burqa as a garment of female oppression. It was a well-known left-wing feminist view that the full burqa is a garment of oppression. It was established. And about 3-4 years ago, they just flipped. And they all suddenly started to love it. And all the old socialist women from years ago, they've just literally been ostracised from their party. But when they were socialists, you knew where they were, believed it. Now you can get these people to believe anything at any time, as long as it's the narrative. You know?
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. Hey, real quick, I just want to let everybody listening know, in about 10 minutes from now, we're gonna if any of you have any questions, we're gonna stop. Adam, if you'll field questions, if you see any being typed. Awesome. So in about 10 minutes, we'll go to questions. Just want everybody to know that. So if you've got one, write it in chat, and we'll start. We'll throw it in there. All right. So, you know, I wanted to talk too, real quick, if I could. I know this is kind of we're diverting rather drastically from what we were just talking about, but I wanted to get to this earlier. You were in the military, were you not?
Yeah. When I left school, I couldn't. I left home when I was younger because my family moved out into the country, and I just discovered girls and teenage things. My family went and moved into the sticks, and I just refused to do it. So I kept coming back to my old town and staying around my mates' houses. And at one point, I lived public toilets on Westbrook Beach, and then I got myself a Saturday job, and I had a beach hut, and then I'd be found, and my dad would take me back, or I'd get arrested, and then they'd give me back to my dad. It was a nightmare. It went on for about, I don't know, for ages and ages, until they finally gave up on me.
Oh,
and
wow.
Then I got to a point where I was like 15 and a half. I went to selection centre. I thought, well, fucking, you know.
You went to a selection centre? Is that like a recruitment centre?
Yeah. And I love sport. I loved sport when I was younger. I did loads of sport. And I just wanted to do sport at that age. And, so I went to selection centre. I knew what regiment I wanted to go into. I was airborne, parachute regiment. Got in, and then that's it. And I went airborne, and I loved it. But I only really went there not to fight in any war. Right, I went there because I knew it was a vehicle where I could do sport 24/7, and I did. Fuck, I don't want to go and fight anymore. You know, I was an anti-war campaigner for years. I worked for Stop the War and War Child a lot. I'm not a pro-war person.
Before you joined up, you were anti-war?
Yeah, I just never saw the point of it, never believed in it, the whole narrative. Not because I believed in things you could You know,
Whoa.
people can fucking go and defend your country and fight the Nazis. I believe in that type of thing. But fucking, you know.
Adam, can you hear me?
Bullshit.
Yeah, I can hear you. What's up?
Oh, okay. That must be on mine. Does everything sound normal to you guys?
That's to me. Sounds fine.
Okay. It must be me. I everything took everything sounds robotic to me, so I think I'm going to have to back out, reboot, and come back in. So, Adam, if you'll take over for me for just the next couple of minutes, appreciate it.
He's going
All right. I'll be back.
So, rumor has it that you have seen Ivana Trump's breasts.
I have. I know what you're going to say. Yes, I have. In 1992 or 93, I was working for Gianni Versace in London. I got employed to open their London stores for them when they had the big move and opened up that big flagship store. And I had a short contract to work for them X amount of time. And because everybody in the fashion industry is just basically gay, every man. And the guy that used to work in the women's department wasn't there when she came in. So basically, she came in to buy these, they're like 40 grand a pop, these things. And I go strolling downstairs. She obviously presumed I was a raving homeless and basically stood there and started whipping her clothes off. And, I'm like, I didn't, what, you're not going to not, what are you going to say? Oh, don't do that. So I just had to have a conversation with her boobs out. But, that was pretty normal in that industry. But I really love the fact that, it's Trump's ex-wife, it's like it's a brilliant thing to have done, really. They weren't that good. She'd gone over the other side of the hill, but it's still a thing, I've seen her tits, basically. I'm quite happy about that, An unusual thing to happen.
I mean, if everyone thinks you're gay, then, you can get away with a lot. So, question. Metalface asks, what is your favorite dinosaur?
I reckon it's got to be a Tyrannosaurus. I went to see a big life-size model of them by Sunday. They're fucking ace, man. It's their little fucking stupid arms. But yeah.
What else? Creepy Donald Trump asks, what is your favorite operating system? I don't know what.
Oh, God, I've got all my computers, laptops and Macs and whatever. I haven't got a fucking clue whatever any of them are operating on. I haven't got a clue. Literally, they are, as I bought them, as they upgrade, or my Mac I haven't switched on for 6 months. I mean, I don't know. I haven't got a clue. I think my Mac's the easiest. But I always use my laptop as their PC type things, But I think Mac.
So it's not Windows 95?
No, that's Nunez. I love that nickname, Windows 95.
It is so very appropriate.
I think he's really quite pissed off about it. That's why I like it, because I think it gets. Because he went to me afterwards and goes, I run Linux, and I'm like, yeah, that guy. And it does sort of suit him, And there's a few other people putting it on there as well, which is good. Who posted that thing today? A video about the life of Daniel Nunes, and they posted up the history of Windows video. That was great.
And that was McIntyre, apparently.
But they always hold little that operates around him in the BLC rooms, and do you know who my favourite troll over there is? I love Joey. I think
he's actually funny.
The way he does it. Yeah, he's brilliant. He's got a lovely way. He's got a good way of writing, and his timing's good. Probably he could write comedy. He's great at that type of thing. And when I first ever met him as a troll was in Pitbulls, and he was hilarious. He was absolutely hilarious. You know, I love his gay Joey routine. It just doesn't get tired. It doesn't. It's not tiresome. Even when he does copy pasta, he's got a good angle.
All right, so McLeod87 asks, did you carry the SA-80 when you were in the Army? Everyone I know that's carried one hated it.
SA-80, I can't remember what it is. When I was a gunner, so I had and we carried a 66 or an 88 on our back, but I wouldn't have to carry that because I was a gunner. And yeah, that was my weapon, the GPMG. I don't even know what an SA-80 is actually. Is that the new Brit rifle? I don't know. They actually changed their rifle after I left, because when I was there we had SLRs, man. That's how old I am. But they were all right, you know. Drug addiction, coke head, bloody hell. Yeah, that's the new one, isn't it? I've heard that it's good. I haven't ever touched it, fired it, or anything. But I have heard but I haven't heard any infantrymen tell me they're any good. And that's where you find out, I suppose. It just looks a bit, it's a lot shorter than the weapon I used to use. You know, when I was going through training in SLI, it looks tiny. You know, it looks funny when people are doing drill with it. You know.
Are you talking about what they're using now?
That SA-80.
Oh.
It looks weird when they do real drill because it doesn't actually touch the ground. You know,
I haven't seen it. I'm not familiar with it.
It's so long. You know, our weapons are like about a foot longer. You know, it looks weird with them dangling down the side. You know?
How old were you when you joined?
15 and a half when I went to Selection Centre. I was in at 16.
You were in the military at 16?
Yeah, with every other fucking ragtag dropout and idiot going, it was absolutely great. But yeah.
What's the cut? Like, what's the youngest you can be and join the military? Because you can't join the military till you're 18 over here.
16 in Britain. 16. You can't go to war till you're 17 and a half.
That's a weird line. 17 and a half.
I love how they have that. That's such a what a arbitrary fucking like rule that is.
I know, it's weird, isn't it?
You can't go to war till you're at least 17 and a half.
It's the half. No, it's the half.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's and
some of the kids killed in the
half.
17 and a half.
Half. That's so funny. How long were you in for? How many years?
Yeah, 2 years, 2 months. I think I was in for.
Oh wow!
Including my discharge. I still get my pension to this day because I had an accident in the army, which is fantastic, but it's pathetic. I posted it in one of my chat groups the other day. I was running cross country and I went down a shingle embankment and fell 20 foot and cracked both my kneecaps.
And that's actually a pretty solid accident. It was a nightmare for years. I sort of really learned to walk, but I mean, I've got on all right. Jesus,
I'm fine now, but it took a long time, and I was tempted.
And
to
you went from wait. See, you went from having an accident in the military, having to deal with knee issues, relearning to walk, and then you ended up surfing.
Yeah. Because if
that's impressive, man.
And I could run and do everything. I tell you, you get things in your head and you think you can't do it, and you can fucking do it. It's just about applying yourself. You know? Sure,
absolutely.
You get surfers that got one fucking arm, you know.
Who was it? One of our members. In the HOA posted, I don't think he posted it in the HOA. He posted it on his feed, but I saw it. It was a video of a guy who was born. His mom had taken thalidomide, and he was raised. He was given up as a kid, and then he was raised by these. He was adopted and raised by this couple who kind of pushed him, made him do things on his own, and he ended up finding. He started playing a piano with his feet, and then his mom got him involved in music in school, and so he started playing different instruments like the trombone and drums. He does it all with his feet. He had this like musical career. Right.
There's this artist called Stephen Wiltshire, and I've done a few things with him in the past, and he's autistic. And they put him in a plane, they get him to fly over a city just once, goes back and he draws it spot on, every single thing, every building in the right place, every window. It's amazing.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But I just don't know how you could fucking do it. I don't even know I could see everything and identify it and list it in a short period of time. But you should look him up, Stephen Wiltshire. Quite amazing.
What's his name?
Stephen Wiltshire.
Wiltshire. Spell Wiltshire. Is it Wilcher?
I think he's got an H in it, but I'm not sure. I think it's WH, but it might be WI. I'm not sure. But I've got a funny feeling that a weird way to spell his name.
I'm sure Google will figure it out if I put artist first.
You can do,
Yeah. I'll check that out. I haven't heard of him before. All right, so we're at the point now. We got a half an hour before the official show's over, and then we're gonna have an after like a half an hour after hours show. Are you gonna be able to stick around for that?
Cool. Well, I was going to be doing some work tonight.
No problem. So then we should probably get to the questions.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah.
You guys in the audience, ask away because the backlog is empty.
Oh, did we? When I was gone, did you ask a bunch of questions?
They went really quick.
Okay. Right on. What were the questions?
Just we asked the most important question.
What's your favorite dinosaur?
Mm-hmm. T-Rex.
Yes, I forgot. Sarbama asked, what music do you listen to?
Oh, fucking! I love the raconteurs and people like that and White Stripes. But I out of old music that's really influenced me, that I'd say was that's made a massive impact on me, is things like Captain Beefheart. And when I worked with Gary Lucas, who wrote Grace, that used to be in Captain Beefheart and his Magic Band, that was a massive honour for me to work with them, because I was a massive fan, unbelievable level. And then, I was going to do this thing with the Verve for England, for Eden, and the Verve were doing my soundtrack. And then I spoke to Gary one night on the phone. I don't know how. And then he was a fan, and I immediately went, let's do this thing together, and sort of so I had to work with him, But yeah.
The Verve, huh?
Yeah. They're all right. I used to yeah. But Nick McCabe, we used to get wasted with, around my house, and we used to be terrible addicts back then, but we had a brilliant laugh. And the last time I saw Nick McCabe, we'd actually thrown him in an ice cream freezer on London Road in Bath, shut it, disappeared. That was the last time I saw him.
That was the last time I saw him. He could still be in that freezer.
Probably.
So you talk about drug addiction.
Yeah.
You've dealt with that.
Yeah, I have.
Throughout your life.
I had a terrible, through work, not through pleasure, trying to work longer hours when I was busy for about a 10-year period. I was literally, there wasn't enough hours in the day, and I ended up with an addiction where I was just doing loads of coke, Henry a day of coke, just to start.
What'd you say? How much a day?
Henry a day. That's Henry VIII, an eighth, 3.5 grams a day.
I fucking love you guys and the way you say shit.
And basically, I was doing between sleeping pills and those things, and that was horrendous. And that was all work related. And after about 6 years in, I realised that whenever I tried to work, I couldn't work without
cocaine.
Yeah, and it took me ages to break that cycle, and literally I couldn't break it. And then one day I just woke up and I just had no impulse to live that life. But I'd woke up like that before, and it had just gone back immediately within a day. But it just stuck, and I've never had the impulse for it ever again.
So you didn't have to go through rehab or anything. You just one day woke up and decided, I'm not going to do this anymore?
I woke up like I'd done many times before and say, that's it, that's the last time. But that time, it just stuck. And I just
That's
didn't.
Great.
Not even a slight inkling or pulling me back. I just didn't.
Well, you know what they say: sin is fun for a season.
Taking leave anything, man. But that was a real struggle for me. That was because not only was it hugely expensive, but it was actually it was fucking. You know, you couldn't go. You know, work was. I was always off my face in every situation where there was work. I mean, everyone. You know, I remember I was doing a board meeting at Eden before I became an artist in residence at Eden. I remember I had this assistant. He looked like a troll, man, and I mean, actually, he looked like a troll, mad as a hatter he was, and I was so off my those days. I remember turning up for a board meeting at the Eden Project, and there's all the directors of Eden there, and on a big long table, you know, it's a big thing. I turned up an hour and a half late in bare feet, off my face, and I jumped up onto the table to get to my seat, walked across the middle of the table and jumped down to my seat at the other end with my troll, like Andy, his name was. And literally, they weren't expecting it. And when I did my pitch about what we're going to do, they sent me out the room. And I got out of the room and I went, oh, fuck. And I realised what I'd done. I thought, fuck, I'm never going to get that. What a fucking thing. Why didn't I turn up on time? Why didn't I at least put shoes on, you know, or anything like that? I walked back in there and they went for it. I couldn't believe it. I was like, fucking hell. So that was all right. So, yeah.
Oh, my God.
But I loved being at Eden, you know. I learned a lot there because it's a big think tank, environmental like think tank, and
now when did that?
I loved that because they had live gigs there, and this amazing place. And where my studio was at the top of this place, it's in this big old quarry, the Eden Project. My studio would be on the top that they built for me, and I used to be able to just walk down overnight into the gigs in the summer. Everyone played there, and I used to love it, man. I used to love like running around the place at about 4 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, going for a jog when nobody was there. I just loved it. And back then, I was spoilt for studios. I had like a 3-story. 5 double-bedroom houseboat studio, which was on the River Fowl. That was all. These were all given to me. I didn't have to pay for it. Everything was free back then. So I had that massive great big place. Then I had my wife, because I was working for a lot of people that paid for things. And then I had my studio at Eden and the house there I used to stay in. And I had my own studio at home, you know.
When did the Eden Project start for you? When did you become artist in residence there?
I think that was about 2004, 5, I don't know. So around about that time. But I learned a lot about environmental things there and global warming. And basically, a lot of the things I was told were going to happen by this time in global warming have not happened. But everything's happened pollution-wise. Everything's happened pollution-wise, which obviously the world is fucking polluted as fuck. The oceans are just in a dreadful state.
You know, it's funny. I recently read statistics that where I'm living in California, they did, you know, I'm sure you've seen all the memes. They're passing these laws that are outlawing straws because they're trying to combat the plastic pollution that ends up in the ocean.
It's just so token. It's just such a token.
Right. Well, the real funny thing about that is that apparently 95% of the plastic pollution that ends up in the ocean is from China and Asian countries. So it's not even like, like we're not doing shit.
The only way that you can get rid of this type is by at the corporate end, not in the U. It has to be at the other end because you still, you know, until they stop putting it out there and giving it to you, you can't not buy everything. So people have got no choice but to buy their groceries with all this wrapping on things like that. The only way you can stop it is at the supplier end. So it's no good talking to the people. You've got to talk to the corporations that are using all this masses of stuff that's ending up in all our rivers, our fucking landfills, are just everywhere, you know.
Well, but that's what I'm saying is we're not even responsible for them. For anywhere close to even, you know, I mean, we're responsible for a smidge, you know, a pittance of the pollution that's happening.
America's got a lot of, and Britain and Europe, we are responsible for a lot of it. But you go to Asia, I spent a lot of time in Asia.
There's a ton of... Literally, there's no regulations over
there. They
there.
throw everything into the river to put that away. You go through you go up the river. It's fucking unbelievable. Unbelievable. Earlier this year, to clear out their rivers, it got that bad. So all their army had to stop work, whatever they do. What do? What do their army do? I don't know. Fucking hell. But basically clean rivers out. But it's amazing. The filth over there is unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what is it?
Like Japan, they're fantastic until their fucking nuclear spill. But I mean,
Well, I mean, but the nuclear power is really a lot safer than people give it credit for.
This is my thing about nuclear power. We're a fucking tiny island. We have one of those disasters. That's fucking a mass we are so populated, densely populated. I think the most densely populated place in the world, I think, or one of them. Also in any area of India. If you have one of those accidents, like what happened in like Chernobyl, or what's just happened in Japan, who's meant to have a fantastic system. That's just not like, it's not like a few thousand people. That's millions and millions. And we're so small. You can't go there for like 100 years. We'll be fucked, That's another thing the left have flip-flopped on. They were anti-nuclear power for years and years. Now they're all pro-Iran having fucking nuclear power. Plants.
Yeah, that blows my mind. Like, are you fucking stupid? Of all the people you want to give Iran?
They are stupid. That's basically it. Because they, when you go to the old women of Greenham Common socialists that protested nuclear power, they can't fucking believe it. I
couldn't believe the outrage coming from our own media and from our liberal left when Trump pulled us out of the Iran deal. When he was like, "No, this is stupid." I was like, "Fucking thank you very much for doing that," because I couldn't believe it when Obama did it. I was like, "Are you out of your fucking mind? Did we just agree to give them what the fuck?"
I'm still reeling over the fact that they were arming all our fucking super enemies like Al Qaeda with those fantastically up-to-date modern weapons to kill our own soldiers with. And that has got their end at the end of the day. And then they act all surprised that they ended up in the hands of ISIS. Oh, well, of course they were going to go there at some point,
Well, we trained ISIS. We fucking trained them.
Fucking course, yeah, man. Yeah, and I don't believe that enemy of our enemy is our friend. That thing with Al Qaeda. Fuck Al Qaeda, whether we started it or not. After 9/11, there's never going to be any ties. Those people, that cannot be tolerated. And the Obama administration, that whole Operation Sycamore, Timber Sycamore, wasn't it? That whole thing, it just can't. That's just not on. It just can't. That's not. You can't do that. There's so many people died, You can't, that's just, I don't know what happens to us morally to do that.
It's
okay? When's that okay? Every serviceman you'd slapped in the face, everyone that died and bombed. No, listen, we never started that shit.
No,
it's not on. It's just totally unacceptable. And I still find it unbelievable that they tried to con us that they were moderate Muslims. Of course they weren't there. And the whole thing is just so fucking fake narrative. And everyone knew from the beginning they even got their fucking defence force that they put together to change their name to try and kid us to the Syrian Democratic Forces. Yes, they're the PKK basically. They're just a load of fucking terrorists, man.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're giving them fucking super cool weapons.
Did you read about Japan let in like 72 Muslims recently? Like only 70, like 72. They let 70. Right, I am too, because they're very strict when it comes to Muslims. But they let 72. They let 72 in. Wait! I just realized, how many virgins are they supposed to get when they die? Is it 72?
I don't know, but they all sort of believe it.
Right. I don't know. I don't remember. I know it's somewhere around there. Anyway, so Japan let 72 in.
He is gone.
You've disappeared.
All right. So, question time. Joel asks, how many kids and how many mothers?
4 mothers, 6 children. Wow. Yeah, it's expensive at Christmas.
Well, that was fun.
Man, that was short.
All right. So they let in 72, and 2 were already under arrest for gang rape charges. 2.
No, why, man? How long have they been there?
Like days, weeks at best.
The culture is so. When I went to Medan and I went out there, the culture is so fucking drastically different to here and what they believe. It's just, honestly, it is mind bending.
Well, that's why what blows my mind is this idea that the left clings to, that multiculturalism is good, diversity is good, all cultures are equal. No. All cultures are not fucking equal. If you believe that throwing people off roofs just because they're gay is a good thing, your culture sucks. Your culture is not equal.
I would like to get all those people that believe that, and all these gay activists that support Islam, and all these feminists support Islam, I'd like to get them on a plane and a reality show.
Live in an Islamic country.
Unbelievable. Not just in a city that's westernized, that you can that's tolerant. In the towns where they live, outside the cities, outside the tourist bits, outside where it's in the sea, it is not. It is shocking. It is shocking.
Oh, they wouldn't.
My cousin Patty, she's Muslim. She lives in Kuwait, right?
You have a cousin who's a Muslim?
Yeah, I've got a few, but
a few.
Oh. Yeah, through in-laws and things like that. And even she says the people that we've let into Britain would not stand a chance of even being able to visit Kuwait.
Wow.
Because what they follow and how they interpret and how they treat women is not acceptable. But they knew that before. But the British government knew that before. They all knew it. I can't believe that, it was allowed. And it's like people deny this whole thing happened, because people generally, if you're Western, you don't see, nobody's going to come up to you and say, they think they could see into their culture, what happens behind closed doors. But when I lived there, I was totally my wife. Well, she wasn't my wife at the time. Become my wife later. She would fucking lived in fear. She couldn't leave my side. She couldn't leave my side. In all of the 5.5 months we were there, she was never out of my sight.
How many times have you been married?
Once.
Just the once?
Yeah. She was like my best mate for years. We did everything together, and I got engaged, married, and divorced in 14 months. It cost me a house, basically. I
didn't sit well with you, huh?
Basically, it was a nightmare, And then I had to get my children back off.
No, she was your best mate for years, you said. So
totally
what happened?
Totally changed. From the second we got on, we decided to get married. Totally changed. It's peer pressure from the families, because we had my son Jay was coming out, and I thought, what's wrong with it? We get on like a house on fire. We have a great laugh. She literally become like, as soon as I started earning money, it was like everything changed. When we had nothing and we were bumming around surf resorts and we weren't, living rough and that. I only had my surfboards, shorts, and things like that. That was it. We had a great time. But as soon as proper money started coming through, everything changed, and it was just a nightmare. And I just ended up working my ass. Well, I've always worked my ass off, but I mean, it was totally, it was never enough. And I just thought, fuck this.
And you had there were no signs prior to this that she had that
leading up to the
personality inside of her.
Well, no, she was just like a really decent person, but also as well, she became an alcoholic. She's an alcoholic to this day. It's a nightmare. Now she's got an abusive boyfriend. I think I've spoken to you about it before. I sent you a video thing.
Oh,
but
Jesus.
It's a nightmare for my children to deal with. But my daughter lives with me back here now, and my son, who's the journalist, he lives with her there, but he's like, he doesn't like it there, but he's got no choice because that's where his offices are. And you can't afford to go and get a place on his own. It's so expensive,
Are those so those are the kids you have, right? Just
no, I have about 6 years ago. No, I have 6 children, but 6.
You have 6 children?
But
see, this
6
is
years
why
ago,
Auger,
I found
you
out
need to
I had
not
another
cut
son
out.
who's 32 years old now, and that was a shocker.
I need to what?
Because you don't expect to find you've got a son that old and hear it for the first time.
Yeah.
And when you come back, I'll tell you how I found out, which is even more fucking scary.
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yep.
Okay. Paul, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. All right. Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I mean, not yet. We'll see when I get kicked off again. 6 kids, man. That's crazy. So how old are your kids?
I've got 2 that are 32, 20 on Sunday, then 17, 15, and 9.
Wow. That's crazy.
I've had children since I was 19. I've had them all my life.
Do they all know each other? Like,
yeah,
are they all?
Yeah, of course I do. But I've never had all my children in one place at the same time. I've had nearly 5, but and one of my granddaughters. But I've never had them all in one place because they're spread around.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Sure.
But we'll get on great. We'll get on great. It's fine. But when I found out, when I found out my son Ben, who looks a spit of me, and I'd met him the year before out on the piss in Margate, and I was on his shoulders trying to get phone reception.
Right.
And I was going out with this girl called Jackie Big Tits at the time, and I was trying to showing my girlfriend's giant tits are massive, implants, and I didn't know he was my son at the time. I didn't know at all. And
what?
I didn't know he was my son. And how I found out he was my son was I got a phone call. I got a message sent to me from one of my sisters that had been speaking to some bloke on a dating app who mentioned his father was meant to have been called Paul McGowan. She goes, I've got a brother called Paul McGowan, and sent me a message. It come from my town where I grew up in.
What the fuck?
I immediately sensed who the fucking person to ring was. So I rang up an old girlfriend, Abby. I said, look, Abby, is Ben my son? This guy Ben. And she goes, Paul, she'd never say it, but we all knew. I went, nobody fucking told me. Right after that, all my mates.
What the fuck? Why didn't they tell you?
Nobody told me because apparently we were never going out with each other, but she really liked this other guy that I knew, and they between them, even a sort of mate of mine, who was a bit younger than me, kept it quiet for years. And when they split up, they couldn't go back on what they had said. So it was this tough situation. But he was basically on a dating site, catching up my sister, at the same age, and basically for a date. And it wasn't until they realised he could have been going out with my sister. It was a nightmare. And that's how we found out. And
oh my God,
I know. That's about
crazy.
But literally, he's a great kid. He's he's hilarious. He's so funny. And he's got a lovely little daughter, my granddaughter, and they are fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And it's a really weird thing. Look, as soon as you find someone, that person's your son, you make an immediate bond. It's just
yeah.
I was really angry for a long time because I've missed him.
How old was he when you found out?
I think he was my girlfriend at the time was 24 and he was 26.
Wait. You didn't find out that was your son until he was
26.
God damn.
I know, I was really angry.
That's a lot of time, man. Yeah, you have a right to be angry.
And I didn't go off at his mother and all that. I just, as soon as I said to Abby, get Ruth to ring me now. And she rang me and I went, Ruth, why? And she just burst out into tears. And basically she said it's because I was I was a wayward lad and there was lots of women and things like that. And she said that was a reason. I said, well, that's not really a reason, is it?
It isn't really at all.
I didn't go mad. I didn't pressure it or anything like that. I thought, right, I'm not going to start causing this and make this worse and be angry. I thought, well, let me just deal with what I've got to deal with.
Right. Move forward from here.
Yeah. But that's
crazy. So you guys are close now.
Yeah. I tell you, I'm terrified of the day my last child leaves home, because I love living them at home, even though I'll moan at them and things like that. But I just love them being around. I love. I'm a family man. I love that type of thing.
That's so cool.
Now my other daughter wants to go. She now she's sort of realised what I do. Now she's like 15. She constantly wants me to take her to shows now in London that I'm doing.
What kind of shows?
I hate shows. My shows, art shows.
Oh, yours?
Yeah. And I had to take her to one last month. It's just like a nightmare. But I took her. She loved it, and she really likes it. Now I've got to take her to the next one. So now I've got to start doing shows again, which I hate, just to keep her happy.
Not because you want to, but because your daughter wants to.
No. She wants to schmooze, doesn't she? That crowd, But young people, it's brilliant for young people. I loved it.
Hey, didn't you have a show where you worked with Banksy?
Oh, well, we've done it. Well, obviously, I've done loads of shows where he's been doing it as well, because that's what we live in, that art scene. And we did a big thing at the Houses of Parliament, and it was really weird. It was called Smile Britannia. We did two there. It's in, it's about 5 years ago, I think it was. And it was like I'd been out the art world for such a long time at that point. I'd been standing away from it. I didn't know who the hot artists were and all the incredible were. And I remember looking at the sheet, the invite sheet of who's showing at this thing called Smile Britannia, which is meant to be. It's all the naughty artists were going to the Houses of Parliament. It was almost like an amnesty thing, with the government, to do this show for this charity thing. It was really funny. But I looked at the list. I've never heard of any of them. I'd never heard of one of them. So I turned up and there's all these hot big artists, and I did not know I think I knew Banksy.
You're like, I don't know any of you.
I knew Banksy, Obey, like Shepherd Ferry, and people I'd heard their names. But none of the others I've ever heard of, because I dislocated myself and got myself out of the art world years before, because
right.
I don't really go to art shows. I don't any of it. I'm totally not involved in it. All I care about, and you've got to like it or lump it. I don't really care. I only ended up back in because certain people started collecting stuff, and I started noticing people that I was in collections with, and then people started asking me, and that's how I got back in. But I'd be quite happy if I never went to the show again, never met anyone again, and just was left to work and posted stuff off. That suits me down to the ground.
Sure. Well, we've come to the end of the show here. We're gonna end the show officially right now, and then we'll do a half an hour after. But I understand that you have to go. You got to get some work done, don't you?
I'm not going to do fuck all.
Okay. Well, then you're more than welcome to stick around. I've
been trying to motivate myself all day. I just haven't been able to do it, because that's the way I am, either or not. And I can't make myself alone feel like it, because it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So
if you can't get the motivation, you can't get the motivation.
I used to, before my hand was smashed, I used to work constantly all the time. But now, because it's not so comfortable working, I can't use my old processes that I'm used to.
Yeah,
I'm learning new ways to do things, and so it's not. I'm not so enthusiastic about it unless something really gets me,
Sure,
and I can't.
Sure.
It's just going to take the time it takes. And literally, I've been messing around trying to work the last 3 years my hand. And literally, I spoke to my doctor. I said, look, it's just a nightmare. He goes, look, because you've never rested your hand like it's meant to, you've got to take that time off. So I'm taking the whole year off. And I'm just playing around with stuff and fiddling around with ideas. I'm not doing anything really dedicated or really committing myself to anything. I'm just going to, I need the break,
Sure. All right. Well, like I said, this is going to be the official end of tonight's show. Paul, I want to thank you so much for being with us tonight, and I hope you'll join us for the half hour after.
Yeah. Cool.
Adam, Joel, Nicole, Sativa, I wouldn't have a show without any of you guys. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for helping me make this a good show tonight.
Absolutely.
Cheers. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it.
And for all of you who tuned in, thank you so much for that as well. Otherwise it'd just be us talking to each other. And that'd be fun too. But all right, so let's make this official. You guys, thanks so much. Now have a good evening and go home.
Fuck off.